Right now, we're dealing with billions and billions and billions of dollars.
Billions. There's no doubt free speech is a problem on college campuses, but is this really the fix? Let's get back to tonight's panel. Britt McHenry, Antoine C. Wright, and Mattie Duppler. Britt, I will start with you. Betsy DeVos, who comes under fire all the time, especially from the left, she said that, she likes the idea, but she doesn't think government muscle, and that was the term she used, is the best way to handle the free speech crisis on college campuses. What do you think?
I agree with that. Look, we can't play it both ways. President Trump has criticized former President Barack Obama about using too many executive orders in the past. Surprised to find out that Bill Clinton had the most with 364 if you're comparing all the last presidents. George W. even more than Barack Obama. So I don't think that it should be strong-armed by the president or the government. I do believe in free speech. And I just want to give you some applause on the memo because I just wrote about student loan debt. My class alone, the incoming 2004 freshman class in college, 40% are defaulting on their student loans. 44 million Americans grappled with debt, as you mentioned, other statistics. I think we need to focus our energy more there, as actually the Trump administration did this week. It just didn't get as much press as this.
It's funny because now with the college admissions scandal sort of in full bloom, you see that the cards are really stacked against college students. God forbid they're libertarian or conservative college students because they really don't have a lot of friends on campus. They're saddled with enormous student debt, and they also have a bunch of wienerheads who are getting in because their parents bought them fake scholarships to athletic departments that really don't need their services.
I don't think the student debt issue is necessarily a partisan issue. Little Antoine is a real example. Look, I was a first-generation college student. I graduated with, by the time I finished my MBA, six-figure college debt. So I know what that feels like. But as it relates to this, I think this further demonstrates Trump's ability to be a political bully. He cannot seem to get things done from a legislative standpoint through his Congress. And so he does these executive orders, and they traditionally have served.
Do you really want this president deciding what free speech looks like, though? Right. I mean, is that what you want legislation codifying the president's version of free speech?
Let me finish my thought. Because he can't get anything done, he does these things to really check a box with his base because what he wants to do is bring his base together.
So now it's not what every president does?
As we get closer to the election. No, that's not true.
Have you read the executive order? Because especially when we talk about this president, it is extremely benign. It basically acknowledges access to education. It talks about a little bit of the student debt issue and the accessibility issue, and it affirms what schools are already supposed to be doing, which is protecting First Amendment rights for all students.
But my point was, it's red meat for his base to make them come together.
You just said this isn't a partisan issue.
No. What I said was college debt. This has nothing to do with college debt.
That's what said in the executive order. It talks about access to and affordability in college.
You missed my point. She brought up the issue of college debt and how her class is being swayed down with debt. I'm talking about now the executive order.
Okay, but here's my point. My point is the federal government is providing so much money and so many grants and so many loans to students that it exists outside of the free market. So colleges have absolutely no incentive to trim their costs and to make college more practical and more affordable. They don't do that. So what ends up happening is these climates are created with no incentive to change. So there actually is a correlation here, and nothing is going to change, and there's no accountability financially or philosophically.
Well, I think that boils down to states. If you look at states like South Carolina, our General Assembly really has, I think, the power and control over colleges and universities because we control their budget, because we elect their board of trustees.
You like the Gamecocks?
I do love the Gamecocks. God's country. I do love the Gamecocks.
I've seen if I can make him
answer that question. All right, anyone say it.
President Trump hasn't let up on his recently reignited feud with the late Senator and war hero John McCain. Here's a preview of Maria Bartiromo's interview with the president, where she challenges him on his comments. Watch.
But Mr. President, he's dead. He can't punch back. I know you punch back, but he's dead.
I don't talk about it. People ask me the question. I didn't bring this up. You just brought it up. You asked the question.
Well, you talked about it this week.
You asked me the question. When I went out yesterday to the scrum, they asked me the question. When they asked me the question, I answered the question. But you people bring it up. I don't bring it up. I'm not a fan. He was horrible what he did with repeal and replace. It was what he did to the Republican Party and to the nation and to sick people that could have had great health care was not good. So I'm not a fan of John McCain, and that's fine.
Where's your vitriol for Susan Collins? You can watch more of Maria's interview with the president tomorrow on Mornings with Maria from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern right here on FBN. And of course, the president actually restarted the rivalry himself on Twitter last weekend after a report claimed a former McCain aide gave the Steele dossier to BuzzFeed and other media outlets right after the 2016 election. Republican lawmakers have been quick to come to McCain's defense, but hesitant to go after the president. Only Georgia Senator Johnny Isakson has been tough on Trump, calling the president's comments, quote, deplorable. Senator McCain's family has criticized the president. His youngest daughter, Bridget, called him a child in the most important role the world knows. And Meghan McCain said on The View that it has been extremely emotionally exhausting to deal with the president's latest rants. So is it about time someone tells him to ease up a little bit? I think that's a good idea. Dan Crenshaw actually said of Senator McCain to the president, he is not your political enemy.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's going after it. It's not just the tweet either. I mean, he had a stump where he was talking to, I think, a predominant audience of a lot of veterans, which that was in
Ohio.
Yeah, this is not going to go over well. You cannot win this battle. He always wants to win battles, but I think we need some respect. We need some honor to a hero. And look, John McCain, if you look at his political record, there are some things to disagree with.
Amen.
But
there are a lot of things,
the repeal Obamacare especially.
His worldview and his view of foreign policy that I never agreed with. Having said that, it is a very inappropriate straw man.
What I'm so disappointed in his best friend, Lindsey Graham, and his total silence. In my world, silence means
he was not silent.
Well, no.
He said he didn't like anyone going after his friend John McCain.
But he did. Well, if that was somebody calling you out because you're my friend, I would have called them out by name and said, look, not only I don't want you doing this, but it's not right.
Yeah.
And I would have asked other people in the choir to join me and sing the same song. It's totally disappointing, and it's so hypocritical of Republicans who love to talk about Barack Obama was not a patriot. He didn't love the country. Well, you can make the same judgment about Donald Trump and his behavior because John McCain did more for this country, I think, than Donald Trump will ever do.
The silliest part of this entire thing to me is that there's that old adage, like, you don't argue with an idiot because they drag you down to their level and then beat you with experience. You don't argue and insult a dead man because he's dead.
Not just
his
a
legacy,
hero.
His legacy lives on, and you can never, ever violate that. It's already there. Meghan McCain, I think, said it best when she said, really, you know, my dad is rolling over his grave knowing that he can control this news cycle and he can give this much attention even when he's gone. And I think that's probably
I think there are people who are looking back on Senator McCain's life going, wow, he actually was a really impressive guy.
He was very impressive. I didn't agree with him on policy, but he's very impressive.
But make no mistake, this is, again, red meat for parts of Trump's base, because if you look at my Twitter, if you look at my Twitter.
I think this is one of those where people are like, yeah, you know, we could probably move on from here.
If you view my Twitter, you would know this is red meat.
Twitter,
you would know this is red meat for his base.
Tweeted a quote from me last night. He's probably not going to do the same after this segment. Thank you guys so much. Great to talk to you, Mattie, Antoine, and Britt. Coming up, New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft fighting the release of surveillance video from his